Breaking tonight, a monster hurricane turns deadly, and its track could take the storm to the U.S. Growing pressure on President Biden after that debate debacle as the president now agrees to an exclusive interview with ABC News later this week. And sentencing delayed in former President Trump's hush money case. First, the most powerful July hurricane ever in the Atlantic, now taking aim at Jamaica. Beryl claiming at least 6 lives already. New and stunning images of the utter devastation left in its wake. Whole island communities decimated, hurricane hunters, and what they found inside the eye of the massive storm. And forecasters now say Beryl's track could potentially take it to the U.S. Gulf Coast. Faith Abubey in Jamaica, with Americans desperate to get out. Also tonight, Americans from coast to coast on alert for dangerous and record-breaking temperatures. Officials warning to consider the heat in your holiday plans. Our weather team timing it all out. The pressure on President Biden intensifies. The first Democratic member of Congress calls on him to drop out as a longtime ally, Nancy Pelosi, says questions about the president's fitness in light of the debate are legitimate. What a new poll says about Vice President Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. And tonight, ABC News announcing the first interview with President Biden since the debate, one-on-one with George Stephanopoulos later this week. Rachel Scott reporting. A New York judge delays former President Trump's sentencing in his hush money case, one day after the Supreme Court's landmark decision on presidential immunity. What that ruling could mean for this case and others against the former president. Aaron Katersky from New York. Details just coming in of a massive home explosion in southern Wisconsin. A search and rescue operation underway. The holiday beach shut down as Americans hit the roads and skies in record numbers ahead of the 4th of July. Why dozens of beaches are closing from coast to coast, the warning to swimmers. New hope for millions of Americans suffering from Alzheimer's as a new drug gains FDA approval. And America Strong tonight, 150 years and still going strong. We'll introduce you to some of the stars at America's first zoo.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. It's great to have you with us on this Tuesday night. I'm Whit Johnson in for David. We begin tonight with the deadly Hurricane Beryl, now a Category 4, tearing across the southeast Caribbean, already decimating several islands, with Jamaica next in its sights, and the U.S. Gulf Coast a potential target. At one point, it was the earliest Cat 5 hurricane ever in the Atlantic. Winds now up to 155 miles per hour. It's currently moving over open water, with the path taking it into the Gulf towards either the coast of Mexico or possibly Texas. New video showing the widespread destruction left behind in the storm's wake. Thousands of homes and businesses leveled on an island in Grenada. No power, roads blocked, many people now living in emergency shelters. The prime minister there calling the situation grim. Stunning images from hurricane hunters flying back into the eye of the storm. A hurricane expected to pass near or over Jamaica tomorrow with a storm surge of up to 8 feet, likely causing life-threatening flash flooding and mudslides. Tropical storm warnings also posted for Haiti and the Dominican Republic. The historic hurricane supercharged by record warm waters in the Atlantic. ABC's Faith Abubey leads us off in Jamaica.
The strongest hurricane ever in the month of July taking aim at Jamaica tonight after decimating several Caribbean islands and causing death and widespread destruction. New video showing Hurricane Beryl's fury as it roared ashore in Grenada.
There goes another roof.
150-mile-per-hour winds whipping off roofs, bending trees, and shredding power lines, drenching neighborhoods with torrential rain. Stunning drone video showing the extent of the disaster, homes torn apart, nearly every building on the tiny island of Katersky damaged.
The situation is grim.
Authorities saying at least 6 people were killed.
This is my room.
Tammy Duncan touring what's left of her home in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Her roof gone.
Yep, I'm homeless.
You're downstairs in your home and you're hearing the roof like just ripping is a scary thing. I was trying to hold my son, hold my composure.
Beryl's outer bands lashing Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic today. But forecasters warning Jamaica will take a far more devastating hit. Many here lining up for supplies. We caught up with Americans desperate to get off the island before Beryl strikes.
As it's starting to get a little stronger and looks a little more serious, We felt like if there was an opportunity to get out, we probably should.
Reed Kirk and more than a dozen other missionaries from Texas saw the forecast and cut their trip short.
You're getting emotional.
Yeah, we love this place. We love this place, and we love the people here. And we have a special family here that serves, and I hate to leave them. I want to take them back.
And with here in Montego Bay, people are bracing for the brunt of Hurricane Beryl, increasingly concerned about what the storm could bring. We're also learning that as this hurricane approaches, the airports are closing tonight and hunkering down. Whit.
Faith Abubey, thank you. Let's get right to meteorologist Greg Dutra from our ABC station WLS in Chicago. And Greg, another possible landfall in the next 24 hours now.
Yes, that's absolutely right. You're, of course, talking about Jamaica, and Beryl has been a record-setting beast. It's the earliest Category 5 storm in Atlantic history, on record, going all the way back to the 1800s. Right now, it's a Category 4. Winds are up to 155 miles per hour at last check, and tonight it does set its sights on Jamaica, where it could make landfall, by the way, making it the earliest to ever do so. And regardless if it makes direct landfall or not, it's going to bring the 8-foot storm surge and winds to 130 miles per hour. Now, the good news is that the storm does run into unfavorable conditions later this week. It weakens to a Category 1, but notice the end of the track. It brings it into the Gulf. Southern Texas, you need to still be on alert, as some of the models do take it over you. In the West, another surge of heat. 4th of July, triple-digit heat from Phoenix all the way north up to Oregon. And the South is baking tomorrow, too. Nashville with a heat index of 105, and that heat is fueling storms as we speak. Kansas City got up to 106 degrees today. Now they have possibly some damaging winds moving in with storms tonight, and there's a tornado watch that extends from Des Moines all the way to the Quad Cities. It's already seen warnings. Whit.
All right, Greg Dutra, it's great to have you. We appreciate it. Thank you. We move on now to President Biden defiantly pushing back against growing pressure to step aside in his re-election bid. The president appearing at the Emergency Operations Center in Washington, D.C. today, talking about Hurricane Beryl, the extreme heat, and climate change. The Biden campaign trying to ease fears following last week's debate debacle. And the first Democrat in Congress is now calling on President Biden to withdraw from the race. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, mounting pressure on President Biden from Democrats demanding answers about the president's mental fitness and raising questions about whether Biden should go on with his campaign. Today, the first Democratic member of Congress coming forward to say the president should drop out. Congressman Lloyd Doggett of Texas saying, quote, President Biden's first commitment has always been to our country, not himself. I am hopeful that he will make the painful and difficult decision to withdraw. Rhode Island Senator Sheldon Whitehouse said he was horrified by Biden's performance in that debate.
I think people want to make sure that this is a campaign that's ready to go and win, that the president and his team are being candid with us about his condition, that this was a real anomaly and not just the way he is these days.
The Biden campaign has called concerned Democrats bedwetters. Today, Senator Peter Welch of Vermont said it was, quote, inappropriate to dismiss these concerns.
I think we have to have an honest assessment of where we are, with the objective being keeping Donald Trump out of office. We've got to serve the country, not the party.
And today, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called the questions about the president's fitness legitimate.
I think it's a legitimate question to say, is this an episode or is this a condition?
So we asked the White House.
Pelosi said it's a legitimate question to ask if this is an episode or is this a condition. Which one is it?
Well, what I can tell you is that he had a cold and a bad night. I would not see this as an episode. I would see this as what it was and what we believe it to be, which is it was a bad night. And he did, on top of that, he had a cold. And that is the reality of the situation. That is the reality of what happened that night.
For many top Democrats, that's not enough. Sources tell ABC News a group of Democratic governors held a phone call expressing concern over the debate and the path forward.
Look, I don't think anybody sugarcoats this. I think the question is how does that impact how the country runs? How does it impact what an election looks like?
ABC News has learned Biden has yet to speak to top Democrats in Congress, including Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Today, one of his closest allies, Congressman Jim Clyburn, said Biden should stay in the race. But if he drops out, Democrats should rally around Vice President Kamala Harris.
I will support her if he were to step aside.
It comes as a new CNN poll shows that Harris performs better against Trump than Joe Biden does.
This party should not in any way do anything to work around Ms. Harris. We should do everything we can to bolster her, whether it's in second place or at the top of the ticket.
The president has held a limited number of events since that debate. At most of them, he is reading off of a teleprompter. But the White House says we will be seeing a lot more of him next week, including during a press conference that he's expected to give during the NATO summit right here in Washington, D.C. And then on Friday, our very own George Stephanopoulos will sit down with President Biden for an exclusive interview, the first since that debate. Many Democrats will be watching that carefully, Whit.
Yes, they will. Rachel Scott, thank you. And again, that ABC News exclusive interview with President Biden on Friday, his first since that debate. George Stephanopoulos, one-on-one with the president. That's Friday on World News Tonight. The entire interview airs Sunday on This Week. Now to former President Donald Trump, wasting no time trying to capitalize on the Supreme Court's historic ruling concerning presidential immunity. 24 hours after the bombshell decision, Trump now trying to claim immunity to overturn his felony conviction in the hush money case here in New York. His sentencing, which had been set for next week, now delayed 2 months. Here's ABC's Aaron Katersky.
Tonight, the first ripple effect from the Supreme Court's landmark decision granting Donald Trump presidential immunity. Trump was to be sentenced next week in his criminal hush money case in New York, but today Judge Juan Merchan pushing that to September 18th so he can consider what, if any, impact the Supreme Court ruling will have on the case. A jury took less than 10 hours to find Trump guilty of falsifying business records to keep voters from finding out about a long-denied affair with porn actress Stormy Daniels. In a letter to the judge, Trump's lawyer said the trial result cannot stand because some evidence should never have been put before the jury, including the testimony of former White House aide Hope Hicks. In its ruling, the Supreme Court declared testimony or private records of the president or his advisors may not be admitted as evidence at trial. Prosecutors did not object to the delay, writing, "Although we believe defendants' arguments to be without merit, we do not oppose his request." Trump has long declared presidents should have blanket immunity.
A president has to have immunity.
On Monday, the Supreme Court agreed up to a point, ruling a president should have immunity from prosecution for his official acts, and that's likely to delay Trump's 2 federal cases beyond the November election. In the election interference case in Washington, Judge Tanya Chutkan will now have to decide which of the charges Trump faces involve official acts and which don't. And in Florida, Judge Aileen Cannon is expected to have new defense motions to consider in Trump's classified documents case that is already indefinitely delayed. But President Biden says the largest impact of the Supreme Court's ruling won't be on Trump's trials, but on the American people if Trump wins another term in the White House.
The American people must decide. They want to entrust the president once again, the presidency, to Donald Trump, now knowing he'll be even more emboldened to do whatever he pleases whenever he wants to do it.